Drawing is a complex performance that involves observation, the capacity to express what you see on the paper with your hand, but also a good deal of understanding about what you see. I've been drawing for most of my life without having any idea really about what drawing really is, and it's only once I learned about it that I realized how much I had been missing. Today I want to share with you what I wish I knew earlier and maybe save you some of the frustration that I had in my own artistic journey. Hello everyone, welcome if it's your first time here. My name is Julie. I started to study art online seriously this year, and in this channel I share my journey and my discoveries as I go along. Today I want to talk about what drawing is and what I understood about it that is so important. There is a concept I love. I learned about it in personal development videos, and it's about learning and competence. It's basically 4 stages. Stage 1 of any learning is called unconscious incompetence. It's a stage when you don't know what you don't know, but you do it anyway. In drawing, I think it's very similar to the way that kids draw. You have no idea about perspective, about shapes, about color theory or anything, and you have no idea about how much you don't know, but you draw anyway. It's a comfortable place to be in, but it's not when you learn. Stage 2 is the first uncomfortable place, I think, and it is conscious incompetence. Basically, you start to realize how much you don't know. It's the way you draw when you start to learn about it and you start to realize how much very hard concepts there can be in drawing that you had no idea about. It's an uncomfortable place, but it's also when you get an opportunity to learn. So I think, despite the frustration that it can bring, it's actually a very good place to be in. Stage 3 is conscious competence, and it's when you start to master some of those skills that you realized earlier you didn't know about. You know what you're doing, you're in control of what you're doing, and you feel confident, and it's great. And then stage 4 is unconscious competence. It's when you forget about everything you know, and it's just so deeply ingrained in you that you don't even think about those concepts. Everything is natural. This is where you get with a lot of experience as you internalize all of those concepts and you lose track of the struggles that you had when you first started. And you keep learning and growing, and the cycle is repeated as many times as you can. It can be frustrating to realize how much you have to learn, especially with drawing, because it's a set of very complex and slow-built skills that you acquire over many years of practice. But I think as you get into the second stage, when you realize how much you don't know, and it's what I want to talk about in this video, it's important to remember that it's a massive step towards your goals of mastering art or doing something you love, because knowing what you don't know allows you to learn that thing, no matter how painful it is. It's the best thing that can happen if you want to progress in your craft. The idea is that as you learn, you will go through the cycle many times, and those painful moments are the ones that can cause the greatest improvements. For me, I went from stage 1 to stage 2 when I realized what drawing really means, what drawing really is. As I said in the intro, it involves 3 aspects. It's about how well you can observe something, how well you understand that thing, and how well you are physically able to translate that on the paper. You can think about those as observation, understanding, and expression, or if you want, think about it as the eye, the brain, and the hand, but they are not isolated skills. They have to work together, especially observation and understanding. When you know how something works, your observation is more efficient. You don't have to work hard to analyze what you are seeing, because being familiar with it helps you observe it quicker and you can rely to your memory to some extent. You don't really need both. If you have outstanding observational skills, you can get by just copying what you're seeing. And if you understand the subject to its core, you can draw it from memory or imagination without a reference. You can't really do without the third, because if your hand doesn't do what you want, no matter how well you can observe or understand something, you won't really be able to draw it. So the third one is its own thing, really. The hand is aside, but the first two, observation and understanding the eye and the brain, really work together in drawing, and each of those skills has its own learning curve and learning cycle. You're not in your artistic journey overall in complete unconscious incompetence, except if you're 4 and just enjoying paint. I think that in some areas you are in different stages, if that makes sense. And I don't want to say that I've spent all of my life completely unconscious about something, because it's not as simple as that, but I've been drawing since I was very young, and as I said, for most of my life I didn't really understand what I was doing. I was putting my pencil on the paper and making marks and trying to express what I saw or what I wanted to represent, but I didn't really understand what drawing was. And I didn't know what I was really missing. My parents had an artistic education, and I just picked up art materials and started to put it on paper to make pretty things. That's, I think, how most people get into art and think about it, and there's nothing wrong about that. I still want to put pigments on stuff and create nice looking images. But for me the problem was that I couldn't make my images as pleasing as others that I saw. And if you're missing something in your artistic journey or development, and because you're missing it, you don't know what that is, and you're trying to learn alone, you don't have any education, any guidance, and it can take many forms. It can be a mentor, it can be a book, it can be a YouTube channel, whatever. But if you don't have it to tell you what it is that you're missing, you will start to think that it's about you, that fundamentally you're not able to draw the way you want, and maybe you're missing something really simple, but you can't access it, and I think it's really sad. So, thanks to my parents, I was taught some tricks, and I had, I think, good observation skills that allowed me to reproduce images and photographs in a convincing way. And since I started to draw very early and I was drawing constantly as a child, I also developed, I think, some decent hand-eye coordination and some rendering skills in graphite. So when I was a teen and later in my 20s, I could observe and I could express, but somehow I still couldn't make the art I wanted. And the most frustrating thing to me was that I couldn't make anything that really felt mine. I had some satisfaction by copying images and being able to reproduce them, but it wasn't what I really wanted. And when I tried to make something mine or to make modifications to my references, it felt unsatisfying. My problem was that I had the eye, I had the hand, but I was missing the brain part of the equation. I was in the unconscious, incompetent stage, and I wasn't understanding what I was drawing, and I didn't know what my problem was. So I had long art breaks because of that. What happened for me is that at some point I decided that art was too important for me not to try to learn about what I was missing. And this is when I enrolled at New Masters Academy and started learning drawing fundamentals. When I joined the platform, I thought that I had a decent level already and that I could probably spend a few months studying and it would be easy, and by 6 months I could draw anything I wanted. I thought that I would be able to finish the module that is supposed to take a year in 3 months. But as I was going through the classes, I realized how much I had no idea about in art, how important those concepts were, and here I am 6 months later still learning about the fundamentals, and I don't expect to finish that module anytime soon. It will probably take me just as long as it says on the website, and I'm completely fine with that now, because I went from not knowing what I was missing to starting to understand what art is and where I need to go, and that is such a massive switch and such an improvement that I'm so happy about it already. I know how tiring it is to hear over and over again that drawing is all about perspective and understanding form and volume, especially when you don't want to make 3D models or draw like an architect or an engineer. It feels like a waste of time, and to be honest, I don't intend to use a lot of perspective in my own artworks. I am actually more drawn to flatter looking things and more symbolic artworks, but I still think that perspective, that volume, that understanding part of drawing is what makes the most difference, whether you want to draw in a realistic manner or in a stylized manner. And that was the missing piece for me, and I think it is for a lot of people, because representing space on a flat surface involves a lot of brain power, and it's just very counterintuitive. Otherwise we would all draw in perspective spontaneously, and we don't. Of course, I'm just at the beginning of my journey and I'm still learning the fundamentals, but the message that I want you to take out of this video is that if you feel frustrated in your drawing practice, don't give up, because maybe you've been trying your best on your own for a very long time, or you've been trying to use methods that you found on the internet, but it's so easy to be missing a piece and not knowing what it is, and it would be a shame really to not give yourself the chance to discover what you're missing in your journey. Because I think that if you're trying to make art, if you're drawing, if you're painting, if you have that urge in you, it's not something that you should get rid of. And if you feel like you can't accomplish things as well as you would like to, again, it would be a shame, in my opinion, not to try your best to achieve what you really want and to just settle down for something that you don't like as much. And I've done that in the past, and I don't wish that to anyone really. So maybe you're very tired to hear about fundamentals and you've tried different methods and you feel like you're not improving, but these things can be taught in very different ways, and if it hasn't clicked for you yet, just keep searching for a different method and keep trying. That's what I mean. And if you feel really stuck, try to find some guidance and some help from someone more experienced. I hope that you enjoyed this video. Please let me know in the comments if you did, and leave a thumbs up before you leave. If you are interested in art and art learning and want to share my journey, please subscribe so you will be able to see my next videos. Thank you very much for watching, stay creative, and I will see you in the next one.